Good morning. Welcome to our worship service at the First Unitarian Society of Ithaca. Here we gather to create connection, seek inspiration, and engage the world. As we look out on the trees, we're starting to see the colors change, and we know fall has arrived. We savor these warm days, knowing that winter will soon follow. My name is Jens Wenberg, and I'm the Celebration Associate today. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to everyone as we get back into the Zoom of things. Whether you're a first-time viewer or have been joining us on this year-long journey of virtual church, we are so glad you are here with us today. Please check our website for more information about how to create connections. If you'd like to receive updates describing opportunities for engagement, please email a request to office@uuithaca.org. Newcomers are especially invited to visit our website and complete a newcomer form on the home page. A special announcement. A Living the Pledge to End Racism workshop is starting soon, and we want you to join. It will be on Zoom, Thursday evenings, starting September 30th for 6 weeks. If you have questions about it, feel free to ask me or the other leaders who are listed in the newsletter and on Facebook. Are you ready to expand your wings about racial issues? Join us now. If you wish to join us but can't do it now, please let us know and we'll put you on the list for the future. Our service this morning has been pre-recorded, but we look forward to sharing the service broadcast on Sunday morning and seeing you at the live coffee hour that follows.
May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations, and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Ordolano, and I'm the music director here at First Unitarian Society of Ithaca. One of the other things that I do here as part of my job is I am on the Way Forward team. The Way Forward team was created for the sole purpose of gathering information about the ever-changing state of the pandemic and offering guidance about how we can continue to operate and offer our services to the community. The team is composed of our minister, staff members, board members, team leaders, and members of our community who have pertinent knowledge or skills, such as medical physicians and other healthcare workers. The Way Forward team meets monthly to discuss the current state of the pandemic in our community, while keeping in mind those that remain most vulnerable and coming to a decision together on the best course of action. As you can imagine, this is not an easy task. We must weigh the spiritual needs of our community and the physical safety of every single member in the decisions that we make. Our intention is, and has always been, to thoughtfully and with great care move us towards a time when we can be together in person for worship once again. We really look forward to a time when this team is no longer needed. We have made some changes for our guidance as of our meeting last week, and one is something that you may notice very soon. Starting in October, we're going to be returning the services to the sanctuary on Sunday morning. They're going to be live streamed. Unfortunately, that does not mean that other people are going to be able to come into the sanctuary. You are still going to be watching it through the screen, but it is our first steps in getting our technological and other issues into place so that we are ready to welcome people back into the sanctuary, hopefully in November. That is our plan right now, and as you know, plans are subject to change in these times. There's going to be time when we have to solve the many challenges that come with welcoming you back for worship, including how to set up our spaces for physical distancing, how many people will be allowed in each Sunday, how to assure that we're using a system that is fair so that everyone who wants to attend has that opportunity at least every couple of weeks, and what guidelines need to be followed by people who are in attendance. We are ready to be together in community with you again, to see your masked faces in the pews, to greet you in the parlor, to hear you humming along with hymns. Living into our faith means living into the principles that guide and define us as a people, and that is what the Way Forward team is trying to do. In addition, there will be all ages offerings through the RE program to gather outside throughout October, with more plans in the works for additional outdoor activities. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us during these challenging times. Thank you for your continued support for this community and the bonds that we share. We look forward to being back together, safely and with care, very soon.
Hello, I am Emily Richards, your Director of Religious Exploration, and I am so thrilled to announce a series of outdoor RE events this October. Beginning on October 3rd, we will have a variety of outdoor activities for all ages each Sunday from 12:30 to 1:30. And I'm here because I need your help to make these events a success. Every other week, we will be offering families an opportunity to have our RE volunteers, which could be you, spend time with their young people, doing things like taking a walk through nature, making chalices out of leaves, twigs, and berries, and possibly even playing with bubbles. During this time, there will also be a chance for parents to gather separately from their children to explore the shared experience of parenting during a pandemic. And we need volunteers for that as well. In addition, we are offering activities for youth who are 12 and up to form a youth group delving into issues surrounding justice, as well as a new youth ukulele group, both of which I have already had several gracious community members volunteer to lead, but we may sometimes need assistance for these activities as well in the future. Please check the October newsletter and the weekly announce for a link to volunteer for one or more of these in-person RE activities. All volunteers must be vaccinated and masked at all times, and if you are new to volunteering with the RE program, we will need permission to run a background check. Both the newsletter and announce also have all of the details about where and when we will be meeting, and we would love for you to join us. Whether you are just looking for an excuse to gather in community and possibly bring home some fresh apples from Little Tree Orchards on October 3rd, that is our first event, or you want to volunteer to hand out candy to trick-or-treaters on Halloween from the porch, we want you to be involved. Volunteering with the RE program is an extremely rewarding experience, one where you get to make connections with young people in our community and experience the special joy that only comes from being around the energy, enthusiasm, and love that children and youth bring. So please, consider volunteering if you are able, and I hope to see more of you this month and moving forward.
Welcome, everyone. Simon Catterall. Flaming chalice is a symbol of mystics and heretics, artists and activists, reformers and refugees, and Unitarian Universalists everywhere. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
For life that enfolds us
Good morning, friends. This is the final Sunday that we will be exploring our theme of embracing possibility together, and I'm feeling a little tired this morning. How about you? I have two things here. I have a pillow, and I have a nightlight. When you put your head on your pillow and sleep at night, you often have dreams, or even nightmares. Nightmares aren't much fun, and you might even want a nightlight to shine through the darkness for you. But good dreams can make us want to linger, to stay and find out what happens next. There is another way to dream about possibilities for a better life. You might think, who can I be if I make a change? You trust in your dreams. You might have to make a change so that you can explore the possibilities of those dreams. Sometimes you need to deliberately make a change. That can be scary and maybe even sad. But the scary and sad parts also have a balance. There can be dreams, hopes, and possibilities that will grow and unfold. Our faith tells us to respond to the call of the times by embracing possibility so that we can fulfill dreams of a better life, to follow our own inner light to make those dreams come true. I invite you now to join me in a brief meditation. Take a moment to find a comfortable position in your body. This could be sitting cross-legged on the floor, reclining on your couch, or even lying down. Once you are settled, you may close your eyes or soften your gaze, which means to keep your eyes open but not focus on anything in particular. Take a deep breath with me now and let it out slowly. Gently breathe in and out again, letting your shoulders stay relaxed and the air fill down into your stomach. Softly repeat, I am still. Notice your body relax quickly and easily. Allow your body to sink down into the surface you are resting on as your muscles become soft and limp. Your body just seems to relax more and more with each and every word you hear and every deep breath you take. Imagine now a small sparkle somewhere deep inside your heart. This small sparkle begins to glow brighter now, and you feel it reaching up and expanding out. The glow becomes brighter and brighter, filling up your chest. You feel the warmth spreading out, touching your tummy, your shoulders, getting bigger and bigger, brighter and brighter, glowing all the way down to your toes. Now feel your whole body glowing like a radiant star shining out. This wonderful light is your light, your own shining night light, your personal brilliance. It is all the love in your heart. It is the sum of your possibilities. Your possibilities are endless. Shine your light wherever you go. Sharing your light makes others happy, and it makes you happy as well. It's a wonderful feeling to share your light, and by doing so, you become a good example to others. When you shine your light brightly, it lets others know that it is okay for them to shine their light brightly too. When we all do this, it makes the world a more beautiful, peaceful place. Sharing your light can be as simple as sharing your smile or doing a kind deed. Hold a happy thought about someone or send a happy wish to someone who is feeling sad. It can mean helping someone who is younger than you or not as strong as you. All of this is shining your light, and you will discover a wonderful, warm, fuzzy feeling inside your heart when you do this. This wonderful feeling comes from doing what you are created to do, feeling and spreading love and joy. Sharing your light means sharing the real you, and being who you truly are. It means standing up for what is right and making the choices that feel right in your heart. Now allow that bright light inside you to become like a gentle shower of fireworks. See how beautiful and amazing you are. You light up the sky. As the fireworks sizzle and flare down, imagine your brilliant light touching the heart of every person you know and will meet. They feel happier just because they know you. How wonderful and blessed life is. Now take in a deep breath and bring back all the good feelings you have right now with you as you slowly stretch your body. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes and return your focus to your surroundings. How do you feel? I somehow have so much more energy, and I'm also calmer and more at ease now that I have filled my heart with my own shining light. I feel ready to explore all of the possibilities that I can imagine, and I hope you do too.
We gather as a community of faithful people, seeking goodness in the world, on this earth, this orb circling the sun. However small it may seem in the vastness of the universe, planet Earth is our home. We are its inhabitants. We make and remake this world in our best actions and worst follies, in our personal lives, and in the lives of peoples, nations, faiths, and movements. There is an old hopeful saying, the world will be fair. Fair in the sense of a beautiful day and a beautiful place. Fair in the relations between persons and other creatures, between persons and the planet. In declaring that the world will be fair, we want to know that the world is reliable, that we understand it and can count on its cycles and seasons. But we also want ourselves and all people to be reliable. In treating one another fairly, in nurturing children and caring for elders, in healing the wounds of life that every person suffers, in peace taking the place of war, and justice taking the place of injustice. We are small beings on a small planet in the vastness of space. We live in this world. It is our opportunity and challenge to make it safe and fair for all who live here, that all may live well, that the world will be well. Amen. Blessed be.
For our final song today, we're going to be learning something new. It's called Spirit of Love by Heather Pearson. I took a workshop with her. She's part of Heart Songs and Circle Songs. Look her up, she's pretty awesome. The song has two parts. We'll do the first part a whole bunch of times, we'll do the second part a whole bunch of times, and then we'll put it together. I am guided by the Spirit of love in everything I say and do, with my heart wide open and free. I am guided by the Spirit of love. I am guided by the Spirit of love in everything I say and do, with my heart wide open and free. I am guided by the Spirit of love. I am guided by the Spirit of love in everything I say and do, with my heart wide open and free. I am guided by the Spirit of love. I am guided by the Spirit of love in everything I say and do, with my heart wide open and free. I am guided by the Spirit of love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am guided by the Spirit of love in everything I say and do, with my heart wide open and free. I am guided by the Spirit of love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am guided by the Spirit of love in everything I say and do, with my heart wide open and free. I am guided by the Spirit of love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am following love. All is possible in love. I am guided by the Spirit of love in everything I say and do, with my heart wide open and free. I am guided by the Spirit of love.
Each week, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. The giving information will appear on your screen in a moment during the offertory music. Giving to the plate is important. It is a symbol of our gratitude for this service and our ongoing commitment to support the work of the church. So please take a moment and give through either the text option or the giving button on the home page of the website. May these gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within these walls and beyond.
In the time of pandemic, which has eased but not ended, concern about public health is widespread. As a way of thinking about the world and acting for the public good, public health goes back to the mid and early 1800s. Charities and government created small and large-scale entities to support public health. Like so much of the modern organization of United States society, it received an impetus from the necessities of the Civil War. Large-scale entities arose to serve military and civilian purposes. For example, the United States Sanitary Commission, developed to provide medical support to the Union Army, became a model for the provision of health services on a large scale. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, housing codes and other laws were developed to make living conditions healthier for everyone living in the nation's rapidly growing cities. Policing as we know it began in the British Isles in the 1600s as a force by which the British Crown could enforce laws and maintain order in Ireland. By the final quarter of the 19th century, there was a fully developed police force in London. Policing in the United States is generally seen as an outgrowth of the slave patrols in the American colonies and early U.S. With the growth of large cities following the Civil War, modern police forces came into being and now exist in approximately 18,000 jurisdictions. According to scholars Hannah L.F. Cooper of Emory University and Mindy Thompson Fullylove, M.D. of the New School, public health only became concerned with violence in 1979. Previously, the field of public health focused on infectious diseases, chronic illnesses, accidents, etc. And in 1979, the U.S. Surgeon General, Julius Richmond, identified violence as one of 15 areas of concern for public health at the national level. Previously, addressing violence had been solely an area for criminal justice. In 2018, the American Public Health Association issued a policy statement asserting that law enforcement violence is a public health issue. And this was affirmed in 2020 with a statement that denounces the use of violence methods by law enforcement against peaceful protesters. Quote, "The current protests are the result of the American people rightfully demanding an end to racial profiling by some police officers and a system of structured racism resulting in disproportionate harm to the health of individuals and communities of color." In this sermon, I draw on Cooper and Fullylove's book, From Enforcers to Guardian, a public health primer on ending police violence. This book was released just as the national epidemic of police shootings and beatings of unarmed civilians had become evident to the public at large in 2020. Indeed, the police have long been a vehicle for the enforcement of structural racism. Although there have been serious and sometimes effective efforts to address racism in policing, policing policy continues to affect negatively and disproportionately minority populations. Many major city police forces and many smaller forces have in recent years come to resemble their populations more than they did a half century ago. This is an improvement, but is not the magic cure for the negative effects of police violence on public health. Police violence is not limited to people of color, but there are well-documented disparities. These have been evident in the responses to demonstrations protesting the unjustified killings of civilians by police. Excessive use of force, often called police brutality, deserves our attention under two of the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism. The first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Now, I will be frank with you. I have a history of working with groups addressing police violence and other forms of police misconduct, such as the excessive use of force and plainclothes officers' infiltration of political and community organizations. But I've also been engaged in cooperative efforts with local police to address crime and other issues in communities where I've lived or worked. This is all I have to say about my experience today, nor will I present a diatribe against the police as police. What I want to share with you today is some of what I have learned and come to understand better, the connection between policing and public health. Policing can affect public health either positively or negatively. Police can affect public health positively when policing maintains safety and security in communities in an equitable way. Police can be and are enforcers of laws that minimize violence, protect personal safety and private property, and keep traffic moving smoothly. Police can be and are guardians of individual and community safety. Policing can affect health negatively in that it can be violent and in being unevenly applied. Police are authorized to use force, violent force, to restrain one person or protect another. It has at times been used excessively. What we call police brutality is a real problem in the United States. The violence that constitutes police brutality is of three varieties. Physical violence, which takes many forms, with or without weapons. You may recall the killing of Breonna Taylor about 1.5 years or so ago, or 2 years ago. This involved firearms. And on March 13, 2020, police officers in Louisville, Kentucky, executed a no-knock warrant by just crashing through the door of her apartment. Her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, had a gun, and he tried to protect the two of them from the violent intruders, and the police started shooting, wounding Mr. Walker and killing Ms. Taylor. On May 25, 2020, in Minneapolis, George Floyd apparently tried to use a counterfeit $20 bill to make a purchase in a convenience store. He was handcuffed by Officer Derek Chauvin and subdued on the ground by Officer Chauvin pressing his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, suffocating him. 21 years earlier, on February 4th, 1999, in the Bronx, Amadou Diallo was killed by 4 police officers firing 41 shots at him as he raised his hands, in one of which he held his wallet, which he apparently was trying to hold up so the police could see it. There are many more cases of death by police gunfire and cases involving other forms of physical force, such as beatings, and some, possibly most, shootings and beatings were not fatal. Sexual violence takes many forms. There are many documented cases of officers feeling suspects, often women, under their clothing. In spite of judicial orders and not to conduct strip searches in public, suspects are still forced to undress in public and are often subjected to invasive body cavity searches. Psychological violence is when people treated in such a way as to harm them without any physical touching. By this I mean orders that make no sense and are really verbal bullying. An officer, for instance, demands to see an ID from someone who has done nothing suspicious. This is often based on ethnicity or gender of the person the police assault. Ethnic and racial slurs are common. So are demeaning comments addressed to transgender suspects. Stop and frisk is in part a well-known form of verbal harassment. Some are stops without frisks. These consist of challenging a person's presence, insulting them verbally, and or ordering them to leave or disperse in spite of their having engaged in no suspicious behavior. Random civilian stops may be based on no concrete suspicion and be totally verbal. Other stops include a frisk, that is, a search of the person who has been stopped, again, often without any basis of behavior or even a reported crime in the vicinity. There is also the practice of making arrests on minor offenses without any grounds. For instance, in Cooper and Fullylove's book, there's an example of 2 men sitting on the steps of a public housing building when the officer approached. They got up to leave. He asked, what were they doing on their property, on that property? The officer arrested them for trespassing. The charges in many such arrests are quickly dismissed, 20 to 25% in the city of Baltimore, for example, over a 5-year period. The U.S. Department of Justice concluded that these officers criminalized the act of standing on public sidewalks. They did so in a discriminatory manner, targeting black civilians for misdemeanor arrests at a much higher level than white civilians. And this again was in Baltimore, where the population is 63% black. A U.S. Department of Justice report found that black residents experienced, quote, 91% of all trespassing arrests, 91% of all failure to appear arrests, and 84% of all disorderly conduct arrests. When each individual faced a single charge, 90% of those whose sole charge was resisting arrest, and they were black. These forms of police violence not only injure individuals, they damage the health of the community. They separate individuals from families and jobs. They feed distrust and fear. When there is police violence, there are several ways to address the violence, including legal challenges, protests, and action by political leaders. Legal challenges can lead to changes in practice. For instance, the Center for Constitutional Rights successfully challenged New York City's stop and frisk policy, leading to a finding in 2013 that the policy was discriminatory and unconstitutional. During the more than 6 years after the end of stop and frisk, there were no measurable increases in crime in New York City. Protests are common. 2 years ago, we had a summer of protests against police violence. Protest has been part of American change efforts since the early 1800s. It was at the heart of the civil rights movement. In recent years, Black Lives Matter protests have changed many minds and helped move some jurisdictions to change practices. Political leadership occurs when politicians are willing to take a stand. 40 years ago, a combination of public education and action, including protests, lobbying, and political leadership, led to the restructuring of the Public Disorders Intelligence Division of the Los Angeles Police Department. Many protests helped lead to the end of stop and frisk in New York and were as necessary in its abolition as were legal challenges. So what are the public health consequences of what has been called distorted policing? Police brutality and other forms of police misconduct undermine trust not just in the police department, but in government itself. If those who are charged with enforcing the law break the law, what legitimacy does the law have? When there's police brutality, individual citizens and even whole neighborhoods are harmed. Some of those harmed include the police. Cooper and Fullilove cite studies on the negative health effects that the violence of policing has on the effect of the health of police officers. Resources are used to restrain the population rather than for the purposes of health and education. When people say defund the police, most do not mean abolish all police forces. They mean shift a substantial part of resources now used in policing to education, social services, and community development. Cooper and Fullilove argue that the ideal role of the police is to serve as guardians of the community, not as enforcers of laws that are often racist in origin and even when they are not arbitrarily applied in practice. For policing to be fair and decent, society must be fair and decent, they say. The reallocation of resources is part of the change that is needed to make society fair and decent. The unhealth that is part of what Cooper and Fullilove call distorted policing cannot be cured by the customary means of reforming police, though these can be helpful in the short run. Curing the unhealth requires a strategy that leads to large social changes, almost revolutionary in scope, ending the marginalization of certain populations, changing the narrative of policing, enforcing the Constitution, addressing civilian complaints and concerns at the precinct or local police force level, activating the public health system, and mobilizing community resources to heal past trauma. In June 2020, the American Public Health Association itself reaffirmed and expanded upon a policy statement adopted in 2018, quote, that law enforcement violence is a public health issue, end quote. At the 2020 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the delegates adopted a resolution of immediate witness proclaiming that Black Lives Matter and supporting actions in opposition to the ongoing violence against people of color by police. There will be and already is much resistance to these efforts. But this is a time in history when we must examine how policing is done in the United States and how this affects the health of individuals and communities. But I remind all of us, that policing is itself part of an orderly, civil, and healthy society. But policing as it has occurred in many cities has undermined that order, civility, and health, including the actual physical health of marginalized persons. Commitment to the first two principles of the Unitarian Universalist Association demand no less. First principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Let us be part of the process that helps to heal the land and its people, civilians, and police. Amen and blessed be.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free of hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without peace, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Our closing words come from the Reverend Frederick E. Gillis. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always. Blessed be. Amen.